will call this meeting to
Recording in progress.
Okay. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 20th meeting of Narberth Borough Council. It's 7:32 p.m. I'm going to actually move through a few agenda items here, and then we will go back to executive session before we move to agenda item 7. So, Ms. Bryant, could you call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Council President Aaron Woodrick.
Present.
Council Vice President Bob Weisford.
Here.
Councilmember Fred Bush.
Here.
Councilmember Barbara Fortner.
Here.
Councilmember Rob McGrady.
Here.
Councilmember Michelle Pananopoulos.
Here.
Councilmember Cindy Rickards.
Here.
Mayor Andrea Deutsch.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And Mayor Deutsch, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have no comments. Ms. Mayor?
Briefly, we're heading into activity season. So just want to give people the heads up. This Saturday, we're going to be, there's the Narberth Business Association is having an Oktoberfest. So Haverford Avenue will be shut down between 6 and 9 p.m. So please keep your eye out for that. The following weekend is Halloween weekend, and it's a wonderful time of year, and the kids are going to be out, and they're going to be out and about. So I want everybody to be really extra careful while driving around town. Drive slowly, use your lights. If you don't have to drive around town during trick-or-treating hours, why take the risk? So I'm just going to ask everybody to be extra cautious the next few weekends. Finally, I have the monthly report, and I'm going to submit the numbers that Chief...
Virtually attending citizens or other members of the public? Ms. Bryant, could you just hold the
absolutely.
Zoomery?
Yeah, so if anyone would like to make a public comment, it's best if you raise your hand and then we can, call on people if there's anyone who'd like to make a comment at this time. I don't see anyone on Zoom who's indicated they wish to make public comment.
Okay, thank you. So I will close public comment. And now council will recess into executive session. I'd ask if members of the public who are in the room can step into the hallway. We will take those of you who are attending virtually, put you in the waiting room. We will put the YouTube stream on hold. And we will discuss matters related to personnel. And then we will return for the agenda item 7, the consent agenda, and move forward through the rest of the meeting. Thank you. One nod.
Okay.
A second nod. All right, we are resuming public session for the Wednesday, October 20th meeting of Narberth Borough Council. We will return to public comment because we did have a technical issue with people who were trying to make a comment virtually. So I'll just re-ask the room here. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a comment? Hearing none. Okay, we'll go to the Zoomery.
All right, so anyone who would like to make a public comment via Zoom, if you could hit the button for the raise hand symbol, and failing that, if you just want to try waving your hand, then we can take a look and call on people here.
Okay.
I'm going to change our view for a minute to gallery view so I can make sure I see everyone. All right, so looks like Carol Marie Scanlon. Oh, you're muted, Carol Marie.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
We are.
Okay, didn't see it.
So I have a comment in regards to 201 Sabine. I am concerned about the building, the saving of the building. But what I would like to remind council is that this property is our property. It's our public property. And more important than your opinion of what to do with the property is the opinion of the residents. Now, with the last company you hired to do a study, you asked the residents for opinion on what should happen to the property. And if you recall, the overwhelming response was to keep the property as an open space and community space. So I noticed that the study that you had, they put their report out. But do you think, or are you aware that solving the whole problem at 201 could be financed through state and county grants? And Samantha has been pulling on grants, and I want to know, are you supporting her in getting grants to keep that property as a public property and as open space? My other question is, what's the cost of this phase 2? Because you've had study after study, and it seems as though are you shopping for the person who gives you the answer that you want? And then I would also like to just reiterate the comment that Joe Heffron, the attorney Joe Heffron, made, is that just wanted to make sure that this council realizes that any development or sale of that property will have to go through Orphans Court. And if that's on your agenda, to litigate that through Orphans Court. But the importance of that property, especially with all the development that we have in Narberth, is to keep it as an open space, as a public park, and as public land.
Okay, thank you. I encourage
Thank
you
you.
to continue to listen to the conversation, because I think that will, all of those will be answered as we continue the conversation at this table in the months to come. Anyone else for
Thank you,
public
Aaron.
comment? Sure. Anyone else raising their virtual hand?
Oh, no, I think we're good now.
All right, now I will close public comment, and we will move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve all of the items on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda items for approval listed in action item 7.
And then a second.
Seconded. That is 7A through 7G. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Consent agenda approved unanimously. 8A. It says Planning Commission, but does someone have the resolution?
I can move. It's on, you just need a motion.
Yeah.
Because it's, okay, I move the Borough Council approve 146 Marion Avenue sketch plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? John?
Just note, this was a proposed resolution that was circulated to council last week. There was some minor changes. The only real somewhat substantive change was a condition related to future review of the massing, the facade of the building, frontage of the building. And speaking with Mr. Brest and the Planning Commission and the applicant's team, that condition was amended to essentially, to the satisfaction of both parties, to allow that discussion to continue at the preliminary plan level. There's a little bit more stringent language that was admittedly softened up a bit, but I think the goal is to continue to look at that, to have that considered, and hopefully come to some agreements on both parties. And my understanding is that Mr. Bressy, who I believe was here today, and I see him on the screen, was in favor of keeping that conversation happening if this plan is approved tonight at a preliminary plan level, and that condition does just that.
Okay, thank you. Council members, any additional thoughts? All in favor? Aye. Motion is approved. Oh, one against.
Yeah.
One against, sorry, thank you. 8B. Councilor Rickards, could you help me out there too?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
8B, I move that we consider the approval of resolution 2021-21 for 650 Montgomery Ave and the amended file plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilor Weisbord. Anything to add, Solicitor Walker?
I just note, again, this is an amended plan. Really, the only changes are to the patio wall issues that I think the Planning Commission believes is a better plan overall. The applicant did agree to put in the EV charging stations. So again, that's an improvement over the past one as well.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on council? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous? Unanimous this time. There you go.
I say aye too. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. 8C.
I move that council consider a skate park.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Can I ask what consideration means in sort of the context of an action item for the borough?
Absolutely, if I may, Council President.
Please do.
So per the memo that I distributed in the packet to Borough Council, both the Parks and Recreation Committee and the Infrastructure Committee have talked about doing a pilot skate park program here in the borough. After all that discussion, the proposal before council would be to install the skate park where the tennis courts currently are in Narberth Park. The main reason for that is that our insurance company has asked, among other things, that fencing be part of it. And given there's existing fencing there, that was, and lack of real suitable location at Sabine Park, that's how we end up landing on that location. Let's see here. The insurance cost would be $1,000 per year to do it. There are some sample rules that we got, not sample, required rules that we got provided with, as well as we got sample rules from Radnor Township. So if council were to approve doing this, Public Works would go get the equipment, which was donated, would bring it to Narberth Park, install it at the where the tennis court is, and we would have council approve and post up signage with the rules we would have to have for it.
Would this be a temporary installation or a permanent?
It'll be a temporary installation there, which
Okay.
the infrastructure committee, my understanding of their recommendation is that it would last until the long-term determination of the use of that space at Narberth Park is completed.
Okay.
Mr. Bush?
Any idea on timing?
Well, I mean, we've got it. So generating a park master plan is sort of a long-term agenda item for the borough. I don't know when the time frame on that is. I mean, I was thinking
Yeah.
for the skate park, see how it works for 6 months at least. But
Well, I think, I think we got pretty far on a master park plan for Narberth Park. And so, I mean, this might be me being too pie in the sky, but I don't know, I would love for us, this would all take a lot of discussion, but, next year, the deadline for a DCNR grant for park development is gonna be in about late April. That might be a little bit too aggressive, but I mean, I would love for us to have the master park plan done enough for Narberth Park at least, to where we could meet the deadline to apply for that DCNR grant. And then whatever we, decide we want to do at Narberth Park, we could then implement it in 2023.
So the Parks and Recreation Board did a lot of work with KCBA and did a lot of envisioning of park stuff, and I think they would love to get back into working on that. So their recommendation, so Parks and Recreation believes that their recommendation is for a resurfacing of the tennis courts and putting in pickleball. That is what they believe should be done with that space. And as a result, their recommendation was that the skate park should be, any skate park trial should be in Sabine. We've spoken to them several times. I think Sabine for us was unsuitable because of the current configuration of the parking lot. The cooperative gardens are spread out in the back, and then the front is being used by the tenants. There's not really a good space for a large fenced area to be put in at the moment. We would have to put in a new fence. So as a result, we feel the tennis court is and the tennis court also is sort of more centrally located and provides better observation opportunities for borough staff and for the police department if necessary.
Yeah, I think the other, I'm sorry, Councilor Bush, if I may.
Yeah, we had a lot of people raise some concerns about monitoring the trial and making sure we'd be able to, make sure it's safe and there's no risky activities associated with it beyond the usual risk of skateboarding.
And if I may add on one point, is that not only making sure it's safe, but also seeing what the actual usage is, and it's gonna be a lot easier to track if it's, right out the window here versus, over at Sabine. I will say if council moves forward with it, any support that the borough administration could get from community volunteers. I definitely heard from a lot of people in the community who are interested in the skate park. And so I would certainly welcome any assistance people from that crowd want to provide in terms of kind of keeping an eye on what's going on and helping provide information about the usage over there.
It's a very active community. They've had a number of events at Sabine and at the tennis courts, which have attracted a lot of people. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get a good community partnership going.
At some point, we'll need to probably wrestle with it or make a decision about what hours it will be open. And I don't know if our insurer had any requirements in that regard as far as hours, weekends, darkness, but it is something that we're going to think about when we can monitor it.
Operational hours.
Operational hours.
Yeah.
And can I ask, well, that would really depend on when the lights turn off, I'm assuming, in the
We
basketball courts.
did discuss this during public health and safety and the park hours,
Okay.
and I believe we decided that the park hours were dawn to dusk, with the exception of lighted areas under the lights on the basketball court.
Samantha will remind us.
No, am I wrong?
No, we actually left the park hours as they are, which I believe is something like 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. with the caveat that the lights wouldn't necessarily be on during that whole duration.
And that the lights would be left at the discretion of the administration, and that this could be revisited with a dawn to dusk kind of mentality. We talked about changing it, and then we got very complicated and pulled out.
Which we would need to change it to incorporate rules for the skate park.
I mean, obviously, because it's going to be somewhat noisier than many other park activities, so we need to probably have more restricted hours.
Luckily, the primary users aren't usually up at 6 a.m.
No,
They may be up at 11 p.m.
But I do think that we need to acknowledge that the basketball courts under the lights are really a great attraction for our teenage neighbors, as well as skate park days. So you're not suggesting that we stop basketball at the skate park at dusk. Rather, you're saying the lights would go out at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. they are now, I believe, right?
I'm not sure if the timer is currently set to. I think actually I have a note. Someone had mentioned me there might be something up with the timer that I need to take a look at with that. So.
I don't think anyone's looking at some kind
I don't think
of
they turn
severe
on
limitation or
early
major
enough
change
anymore.
right now, right? What I'm hearing is we're getting this equipment donated. Just reiterate that for the public who's listening now, which is, a 6-figure donation. We're going to put it in place. We're going to try it for 6 months. We're not going to be doing the resurfacing while we try it, so we're delaying that capital expenditure. And then we'll have a conversation and see what we want to do. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just want to add some commentary.
Mhm.
So, like I say, in 2008, there was a very active group of 14 to 16-year-olds who petitioned council for a skate park, and Heidi Boyce, who was the chairperson of the councilperson, was the chairperson of the property committee at the time, really advocated for it, and the council voted it to not have a skate park in Narberth, and there was so I think those 15-year-olds are now 30, 33, 34, they may even have their own children here, and I think this is really timely, that we're giving them a skate park for their children to use.
I'd just also like to comment that we have significant interest in tennis. We've heard from the tennis players in the community, and it sounds like we would consider a comprehensive plan, and the earliest we would even act on a tennis court would be 2023.
Yeah.
Is that just as some context?
That's what I'm proposing, and council's amenable to that.
So the only thing I would add is to make sure we have a plan of, if council decides not to continue with the skate park in that location, what do we do with this equipment we've inherited? I think having that plan before we get into this, or as we are getting into it, is better than kind of an oh no moment later when we have a lot of large physical equipment.
So I have a follow-up question to that and a comment. Do we know the lifespan of this donation? And thank you, David Bordeaux, for this. I mean, is this something that has a year's left of life in it? And we'd say, okay, this is successful, we should invest in this? Or is this equipment that?
I think it was inspected, right?
It was inspected. My understanding of this equipment is it's equipment that would be suitable for a pilot. There's not safety issues with the equipment. It's more just it's outdated equipment was kind of the vibe I got from the inspector. He pointed out to me that equipment now is, like this is hollow wood and metal. He pointed out a lot of it now is like concrete, so it's less noise and that sort of thing. So it wasn't that it was gonna like fall apart or something, it's just like newer equipment is
More
just
updated.
better, yeah.
Okay, and then the second just quick comment is just about the recommendation from Sabine to here more centrally located. Once you tell me the insurance company says we need to have a fence, additionally, for all the reasons that you state with police and borough eyes, but also back to the parking study and concerns that we've heard about Sabine Avenue traffic, I do think that we will have a lot of outside visitors. I mean, I often hear of families traveling to Radnor, to Ocean City, down to the city. So I would be concerned with Sabine Avenue with the increase in traffic and parking, which really I think is timely to monitoring who uses the parking lot in the borough, in the parking along Haverford Avenue, where we see cars that are stored there for extended period of time or use, that we really want to be sure that we're setting up policies that says we want the person from Radnor to come to visit Narberth and buy a hoagie and a coffee and have parking to be able to do that.
Okay, so all in favor of moving forward with the skate park pilot, which I'm going to reinterpret consideration of skate park, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right.
But I think Cindy's point was a really good one that hadn't occurred to me before. We really should probably have a plan for the disposition of this equipment. Should we either decide skate parks don't belong in Narberth, or boy, they sure do, so let's invest in, find someone who wants to build a concrete one. But I don't know how hard it will be to transfer this to somebody else after the pilot.
I mean, it's a substantial number of hours
Make
to
sure to
load
give that
it.
some thought.
Yeah.
And, I think the expense of moving it was something like maybe $1,000 for renting a truck and then the hours for the employees.
You have to
Yeah.
find someone who will
So-
take it also.
You can always send it to the dump.
No, buy nothing in Facebook.
Somebody might want it.
Somebody's backyard.
Somebody would want it.
All right, 8D. Who would like to make that motion to consider the Phase 2 proposal from eConsult?
I move that Borough Council
Thank you.
approve a the phase two proposal from eConsult for 201 Savannah.
Is there a second?
I was second
Second. Okay, it's on the table. Just for the benefit of the public, we discussed this. What is the price of this proposal?
So the borough was provided an hourly rate from eConsult for the study. We weren't provided any kind of lump sum figure.
Okay,
For whatever it's worth, the borough paid for phase 1 a total of $8,000.
okay. Is there a size, an estimate in terms of whether this is significantly larger or smaller than that 8,000?
That question, I would have to find out more information we consult about.
Okay. Council might want to consider authorizing moving forward with some kind of financial cap. So we can put would you like to maybe amend your proposal?
Well, I think that's a good idea. I have not had a discussion. I have not had a discussion with eConsult to get a sense of who they planned to work on this or what. It's unclear to me, to be honest with you, it's unclear to me what the scope of these services are. I mean, I'm inclined to probably not vote in favor of this at this time until I understand what the scope of the services are. I'm saying analyze potential alternatives. Are they proposing to provide a written report to present to the community? It's I don't know. I don't know what I'm approving.
So-
I'd like to move that we table this motion
Yeah.
until we can all learn more offline and maybe have a discussion with the consult and Michelle can get more information. We can talk about it with the manager.
Can I get a second for that motion?
Sure, I was making a motion to table this,
Okay.
table my motion.
Before we vote, I'll have the discussion for the tabling. Is there any other questions that anyone at the table has at this time that Samantha can use to come back to us with everything we want? Go ahead.
I guess in looking at this, I thought, well, that sounded to me like they're saying upon request, we'll assist you. So I think our request should be, we'd like your assistance. Tell us how you would do that. Tell us, so give us something that's like the phase 1 description of what you would propose doing for us. And then we can react and say, yeah, we like that, we don't like this, can you do more of that?
If they're just, if the earlier question, the first motion was really, do we want to hear more from them about what they propose to do in phase 2, then I would say I'm in favor of that,
Sure.
which is what Mark Barber was just suggesting. So I could retract my motion that we table, and we could just.
No, I think
Okay.
we're
I think we
tabling.
should table.
Okay, we're tabling.
All right, all in favor of tabling?
Right.
Aye. The motion is tabled. We'll get more information and we'll hear from them soon. 8E, that goes to you, Councilor Rickards.
I move that we consider the advertisement of an ordinance for PMRS pension plan.
Second,
Seconded.
can I get some information?
So it turns out, I found out this afternoon, and my thanks to Councilmember Fortner for helping me work through this with her previous private employment background. We actually do not need to take action on this item. This is actually an ordinance council previously passed in September of last year, and we just need to submit that ordinance to PMRS.
Great. Motion to table? Councilor Fortner, would you like to motion?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Councilor
move that we
Rickards?
table that. That we table this to.
Councilor Rickards, would you like to second that motion?
Sure. I will second.
All right, all in favor of tabling? Aye. The motion is tabled. We are just plowing through them here. Table everything. 9A, the reports have been filed. Committee updates. I'll start with Councilor Bush.
Well, we haven't met since the,
No update.
no update.
Okay, Councilor McGreevy?
Let's see, well, we met in the first week of the month, and we're gonna be meeting again. I think we're gonna be talking about, in November, we're gonna talk about the inspections. That's something we had to move from our October meeting. So this will be rental inspections and commercial properties.
Okay.
Commercial fire inspections, exactly.
And, okay. Finance and Administration.
So we just met and we briefly reviewed the quantitative data from the comprehensive plan. I hope you all had a chance to kind of look at that. It was really interesting to see where we all fell on our evaluation of projects and goals. And thank you to Michelle Carroll. I'm glad you're here because we've been thanking you over the last few meetings who put that together for us. So what Finance and Administration is now recommending is that we'll have a workshop session where we're going to pull the qualitative data, meaning our comments that really aren't as obvious on that form, and just look for emergent themes as well as cluster the evaluation of that comprehensive plan, and then bring to the attention of specific committees where that work falls under, and almost flag community groups that are working or could partner with us in that space. So for example, one of the areas, if you look with the most blue, meaning we've completed or exceeded our goals for that, was for the bike infrastructure and education and culture. And, without discussing that as a committee here, we can really kind of point to our partnership with the NCC and how they've advanced that for us. So I think it behooves us to see how do we organize this work as a council, but also leveraging those resources as a community. So FNA will report back kind of a second layer of data analysis on that, and then an approach where we can divide and address those issues. Any questions or comments on that? The next is the easiest. We all received a letter actually from Rick Trolleys asking us to support a letter signing on to Representative Daley on HB 1694, which essentially is liability protections for volunteers. He did send us a little bit more of that information, but it is the recommendation of FNA that we as a council send a letter to Representative Daley saying that we want to do everything we can to protect the volunteers that do so much in our town. I would ask that we discuss and kind of vote on that now and not, because that is coming up for a vote this fall, and I don't want to delay that.
Are we able to make a resolution like that without it being on the agenda?
If you're going to add something to the agenda, you need to, under the new sunshine laws, have a vote, and there needs to be a majority vote of council to add that to the agenda.
For this meeting?
For this meeting.
Okay.
And then the agenda needs to be updated tomorrow with that item on, published on the website.
So can I suggest this? There is a template letter of support. Can I ask that every individual council member who supports this individually email Representative Daley?
You can make any request that you want, and again, you could add it to the agenda. It's just more administrative to get there. So whatever is your
Whatever you
preference.
want then.
Hold that thought, I've got a spot for you.
Okay. Then moving on to what I think I'm saving truly the best for last here. And Michelle, if you would like to go into detail about this, but Michelle Carroll has researched a software process and procedure called MyGov that would allow residents, staff, administrators to, much like that C-Click Fix, upload pictures, concerns, requests, work order, permitting. It has some GIS capability, processes, code violations. You can do that online. You can do that via paper. Andrea says, look, I'm walking, there's a sideway issue. She uploads a picture. She sees where it is in the queue. It automatically assigns it to what staff and borough administrator would deal with. Michelle, do you want to say more? Because this is your project.
No, you did a great job. I mean, just to add, I think that a lot of our issues in the office has been not being able to get that information immediately. So if someone asks about what the status is of anything, a permit, a work order, code enforcement, we have to then say, okay, well, we have record that we received it, but now I have to go bother, the department, get a status, they have to look into it, and then I have to go back to whoever asked, to the community. So I think this is a way of really just being able to have everyone have access to that information and then pulling all of our previous documents into one place. We'll have everything in this place where anyone can kind of look up the status, update, close out. It's there. So, but thank you.
So there's an initial investment of $4,000 and then it's $13,000 annually. And I said, well, we wouldn't actually ask you to compute this, but if we were to ask you, what's the operational cost of the current procedure of trying to track folks down, I'm pretty confident it would be more than $13,000 a year.
So, Michelle, can you also speak to, I think the work order component is important. I think that's kind of a smaller piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak as well to some of the property management benefits that you shared with FNA?
Sure. So in this system, the software system, we can receive permit applications. We have a full record of permit application inspection records. We also have code enforcement. So if there is a violation that has been issued on a certain property, we'll be able to see when they apply for a permit application that, we may not be able to accept it because this property has an open violation that needs to be resolved first. Snowstorms and abatement. There was a time last winter that we had Public Works Department had to go out and clear a sidewalk, or businesses that, were maybe vacant, that they weren't monitoring their sidewalks. So we'd have to have Public Works do that. So then that kind of keeps track of everything in a way that we never really could before. And any, liability issues, if someone reports something, to make sure we're on top of it. If if something happens and we receive a report that we didn't have it, we have that record. So that's another aspect as well.
The system is pretty broadly used, isn't it? I mean, I assume you've spoken with other municipalities that are using it. Right, it's been around for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
Mayor Deutsch?
I would assume this would also, in, say, the instance where Public Works had to shovel out a whole corner of downtown, they would be able to then follow up and charge the individual if they haven't. So we'd be able maybe to recoup some fees for work in that vein.
Yeah, and this is a system that a lot of our processes we aren't able to accept credit card payments. So this will allow that for, really, we can open that up to if one day we wanted to do business privilege tax on our own. We could do that all within the system, so it's pretty broad.
It allows the borough to take in funds a lot easier.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, great. That's it.
Did you want to talk about the debt?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, thank you, Fred, I'm sorry. Actually, so we had Chris Bammer come from PFM to give what, there is a perspective and an analysis on refinancing that debt that Manager Bryant discussed during the budget. Can I ask you to summarize and propose?
Sure. So as Councilmember Rickards mentioned, we've been talking with Public Financial Management about refinancing the borough's existing debt. Much of it is variable rate debt. Much of it is probably above existing market rates. A very valuable question in the analysis that Councilmember Bush brought up is one of the loans the borough has, we paid most of it off, and there are some assumptions maybe being made about the interest that we will be paying on that need to be looked into further. However, the other two loans, and especially the loan that we got for the Sabine Ave roof, there do appear to be considerable savings from refinancing, even when you factor in the closing costs and the cost for PFM and the bond council and all that. So it looks like it could be something that would save the borough taxpayer money, as well as provide the borough stability, because those loans right now are all variable rate loans, and there's an opportunity for us to change those over to fixed rate as well.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to new business. Yes.
Two things, I'll do the easiest one first. It's time for us to get our fall open house on the table, and I'm wondering if we can just discuss right now, rather than do the poll, what does a Friday on the 29th look like for council from 3 to 5? It works for the borough manager.
Are you talking about next Friday?
Yeah, we can get it out in the flash this Friday.
3 to 5,
From 3 to 5. The expectation is not 100% of us will be there, but rather, yeah, we can pop it now.
Sure.
Done? Boom. Okay, easy peasy. The next is I request that we add to our next agenda a review of vaccine and testing COVID mandate or policy for borough employees and staff. That asks us to consider how we are aligned with both federal and local county practices and policies in this space to be added to our next meeting agenda.
Okay. Is there a plan that there might be some action at the next meeting? Like an official council action?
Sure, we can actually take action to be aligned with Montgomery County's practice, or I would say most certainly a discussion on why we feel like we should not be aligned with county policy.
Okay, so just, and I asked just to make sure it's sort of worded properly on the agenda.
Okay.
We can add that to the next agenda. Would you like to also make a motion to amend this agenda to add 10A, which would be support for the House bill that you're talking about?
Sure. I move that we amend the agenda and add action item support for HB 1694, liability protections for volunteers.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded. Is there any other new business before I move to 10A?
We need to vote for this, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, thank you. I was writing instead of thinking. Okay, we'll move to 10A. Go ahead, make a motion.
I would like to move that as a borough council, we resolve or write a letter. What do I need to move?
We resolve to
That we resolve to support HB 1694, the liability protection for volunteers.
Second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilor Fortner. Discussion. All right, well, I'll
It will be the form of, will this be a letter that someone from council will write, or that the manager should write, and if so, perhaps provide some details and
I think this would be
that direction.
The council resolved in support of this bill, and I'll give you some language.
We asked for Representative Daley's support for this bill.
Yeah, we're
Correct.
going to support or co-sponsor the bill.
Didn't Councilman Rickards mention there is an existing?
There's
sort
an
of draft
existing
letter?
template letter that actually Mr. Trolley sent to us.
I was comfortable with
That we can, I was comfortable with it too. This is actually a bipartisan bill.
Does this extend liability protection beyond the Good Samaritan laws? Because I think volunteers are already.
So here's the-
So I'm curious as to why
Yeah.
there's additional.
Because organizations get sued.
Yeah.
And whether they are 100% exonerated, their insurance company will spend $25,000 exonerating them,
I see.
and then they can't get insurance.
Okay, great.
Am I summarizing this correctly?
Correct.
It was like a Friends of a Park Association, Friends of the Penny Pack or something got sued.
And so this rule would sort of prevent that even from happening, so then it just is a non-issue.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. Sounds good.
And, you know, Narberth relies on volunteers.
Yeah.
We know these are, I would say, nuisance lawsuits, and so hopefully we can amend state law. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
So if everybody put in your calendar, please, 10:29, 3 to 5. Excellent.
All right, moving to 11, old business.
I know we're past the public comment period. I just want to note that Ed Ridgway does have his hand up on Zoom.
Well, let's hear from you. Let's hear from the Narberth Business Association. I can make an exception in this case for an official report.
Hey, everybody, I'm sorry if I missed the public comment. Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
I just wanted to check in. One, I haven't made the past few meetings, so I want to see if you had any questions for me, Narberth Business Association related things. And I just want to give you an update on some of the latest projects we've been working on.
Sure, why don't you give us the update and we'll see where the questions flow.
Okay, so over the summer, after we had learned that the 4th of July committee was disbanding after years of service to the borough, we formed a volunteer group to see if we could keep the traditions going that we wanted to keep going. And we got a number of volunteers. We started organizing and we formed committees to handle a number of groups, starting with the the first events, our fall events. And so we're starting to see the results of that now. There was a Witches of Narberth committee that formed, planned a Witches of Narberth event, which will be on the 30th. A parade committee formed, and they planned a Halloween parade that's also going to be on the night of the 30th. And we also planned an Oktoberfest, which is this Saturday night. And those are the first three. We're going to start planning probably next week for the Dickens Festival, which will be December 5th. And some advanced planning has already started for 4th of July for next year.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions from the table?
I just want to add, there was also a very successful music fest that was held in the fall, thanks to Ed and the group.
Yeah, that worked really well. It was great to have an event again. That was the first event we'd had in about 18 months, and we had a great turnout, and it was wonderful. And I want to thank the borough, both borough manager Samantha Bryant and also the chief for their help. I mean, without the borough's support, there's we couldn't pull these things off, and we really appreciate the partnership we have.
And if I may add, I would say vice versa, the borough would certainly not be able to do these events on its own without the MBA and the other organizations. So the borough is certainly grateful for everyone else as well.
Thank you.
Just with the Witches of Narberth event, in the past, we've had as many as 900 kids running around between 1 and 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. So expecting a solid, a number of hundred, who knows how many hundred, but a lot of kids running around on Saturday afternoon. Just everybody, just please be careful again driving and watch traveling through the borough.
Okay. Well, I hear no other questions, Ed, so thank you very much for your update.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other old business? All right, Are we expecting that there will be any council action following our next executive session?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, council is adjourned and we'll go into executive session to discuss personnel and public safety matters. Thank you so much and have a good evening.